It's the 20th anniversary of something for Ole Miss. Its only ever win in Tuscaloosa. It came back in 1988. Hey, how are you, folks? Jason Horowitz, glad to be with you on the GEICO SEC Game of the Week here on CBSSports.com. Ole Miss on the road at number 2 Alabama. This team better than that Alabama team? Well, that's up for you to decide. Let's bring in Spencer Tillman to break it down. Of course, you'll see him on CBS. And Spence, I said number 2 Alabama. They stayed idle after having a bye week, and they saw Texas, who was number 5, jump ahead of them. Should the Crimson Tide feel slighted?
No, not at all. The fans may feel slighted, but the Crimson Tide shouldn't. And I can tell you the guy that matters most in all this, Nick Saban, could care less if he's occupying that top spot. And if we ignore recent history, we'd be foolish to covet that position. It's been kind of a virtual revolving door in the last couple of years. So, yeah, as long as you're sitting there 3, 4, 5, in this case they're 2, that's close enough for that number 1 spot, Jason.
You talk about head coaches, you got to talk about Houston Nutt, Spence. And he is 5-7 all time against teams in the AP top 5. Most of those coming at Arkansas, where, look, they weren't in the top 25 when they beat a lot of those top 5 teams, including last year. Yeah. Let's remember, they knocked off LSU in the last week of the regular season, who was number 1 in the nation. And, of course, he did it at Florida earlier this season as well. What is it about him that allows his team to believe they can beat these top 5 teams?
Jason, you're on a roll, man. You're asking some great questions. I have to tell you, I mean, I've known Houston Nutt for a long time. I've spoken a motivational series for teams that he's coached, and I can tell you this much about him. He doesn't need a whole lot to motivate his players. This guy can connect with players about as effectively as any coach I've ever been around, and I've been around some good ones, including Barry Switzer. I think Barry's maybe just a tad better, though. But Houston Nutt is outstanding.
Just in case he's watching, right?
Just in case he's watching, that's right. He is internet savvy, by the way. No, I think Houston Nutt is an outstanding coach. And I think the thing that separates him is he can take a little and make a lot with it. He'll be able to leverage that victory over Florida in a way that most coaches wouldn't be able to. The problem with them is they have been inconsistent. They've been up and down, up and down. They win one, lose one, win one, lose one. So as he gets this young team a little bit more stabilized, emotionally, physically, dealing with success, dealing with losses in some instances, they'll be a little bit more predictable on both sides of the football because he's got some talented players at skill position. Jevin Sneed's a pretty good quarterback. So Houston Nutt will be around the corner. Give him another year. He'll be right where he needs to be.
What do they have to stabilize this weekend to beat Alabama?
Well, lack of turnovers. They've got to eliminate those turnovers. I think you and I were talking. I think they've got 15 on the year, if I'm not mistaken. They had some key turnovers in the contest against South Carolina, and I think McCluster, their small wide receivers, about 5'9", 165 pounds, has a first down inside the 10 against South Carolina, working for extra yardage, gets the ball jarred loose, but for that fumble, Jason, I think they have a chance to win that contest. And you're saying a different thing about this Ole Miss team as a legitimate contender in the SEC in his first year at Ole Miss, but that was not the case. So if they can limit their turnovers, they're going to have a shot to be very successful against a pretty talented team.
What do they have to stop Alabama from doing defense? What does Ole Miss's defense have to stop Alabama from doing offensively? Because something Kentucky was able to do, but Georgia was not.
Yeah, Kentucky was, and I was not necessarily surprised because Rich Brooks is a great coach, but I think you got to start with Glenn Coffey, their running back. And again, you know that Nick Saban, although he's a defensive-minded guy, he wants to run behind that massive offensive line they have, and that means Coffey's got to have a great day. But in order for him to have a great day and to keep Ole Miss honest, they've got to be able to pass the ball effectively. And here's where I want to give props to Jim McElwain, the offensive coordinator, first-year coordinator out of Fresno State. He has totally transformed John Parker Wilson, the quarterback for Alabama. You look at his interception numbers from last year, I think he had around 12. At this point, he only has 2. At this particular pace, he increases his production by 400% in that very important position, limiting turnovers. So again, John Parker Wilson behind McElwain as an offensive coordinator has really elevated this Alabama offense and made them balanced and dangerous behind that massive offensive line. And if Ole Miss can't limit their turnovers, it's going to be a long day for them defensively.
Spencer, the last 3 years, this game has been decided by 3 points in each of the last 3 years. It's been some great games when a lot of people didn't expect it to be. Are you expecting the same thing this weekend?
Well, I don't think it's going to be that close. I think that what you see in a Alabama team who went down a little bit based on the prior performance they had in the dominant performance over Georgia. Met Kentucky, maybe not as prolific offensively. It's tough to come back from an emotional win like that. I think they come back up again. It's going to be a hotly contested game, maybe 13, 14 points the difference, but I don't think it's going to be historically close like it has been in recent years, Jason.
I'll tell you, our buddy Mike Oresco hopes it is. You know, he wants it to be close to like 3 points. Spencer Tillman, thank you very much. We'll see you on the College Football Today this weekend.
All right, Jason, good to see you as always, my man.
And folks, don't forget you can watch this game live, streaming live on CBSSports.com. It is SEC Live. You see it all season long. Whatever you see on CBS, you see here on CBSSports.com. Alabama, Ole Miss, of course, kicking off at 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time. For Spencer Tillman, I'm Jason Horowitz. Take care, folks.